and look at the pictures. Those are our kids.
Wow. Well, those are the pictures they're using this year.
Yes.
This year's
in the
posters,
GMHC pink shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are our kids. You might see some of us on there.
Awesome. So that's
Yeah.
another one. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
The next thing is I'm going to give you something to do that you may not know about that might be really exciting. You are all invited to come to my HIV support group in New York City, the one that Rent is based on. If you've seen the movie or the musical, you know, in the movie it's called Life Support, and it's an African-American man that leads the group. Well, in real life, it's a woman named Cynthia O'Neill. She's a white Irish woman in her 70s, and it's based off of her and our group, right? So it's on Monday, Tuesday, it's every night of the week, but the HIV group is on Monday nights. And on Tuesday night, I brought a group of alternative high school kids from Camden, Maine, Mid-Coast, Maine. They're on their New York class trip. And instead of going to see Blue Man Group, they came to my HIV group. How cool is that? So I brought 10 of them and their teachers, and they sat in the corner, and they loved it. And the first person who raised his hand was, "Hi, I have HIV, and life isn't good, and I'm thinking about suicide." I'm like, right on. These kids are getting the heart of the matter, right? Not right on these thinking about suicide, but right on that they're getting the meat, right? So if you really want to do this, as a club, have somebody get in touch with one of you. Get in touch with me and pick up Monday night between now and the end of the school year, because Monday is the HIV night, and we'll meet in Soho. We'll come to my HIV group. From there, you can sign up to volunteer if you want to do some volunteer work with this HIV organization in New York City, right? There's that. The next thing is this. It's my personal thing. It is really, really important that it's not just that the RFK Community High School knows about HIV and how to get infected, how not to get infected. It's important that every single teenager in this country knows how not to get infected. So wouldn't it be great if you made it one of your missions to not just educate the kids in your school, but all of Flushing and all of Queens and all of New York and the entire country? I mean, that's what I'm doing. So how could you do that? That's up to you to decide. To be activists, because there's a giant need. There's a total, egregious, empty hole, lack of health education in this country, thanks to President Bush for 8 years of saying abstinence only. And then Obama's been so busy doing other things, it hasn't been put back in. It's just not being taught, maybe in this school, but not around the country. So I was at Stanford University last year, Ivy League school. Kids there speak 5 different languages fluently and don't know what HIV stands for. HIV, can't tell them what the letters stand for. Right? I was at Yale and Harvard, Ivy League schools. They don't know what the 4 fluids are that transfer HIV, but they're the highest schools in the nation. So it could be your job, if you wanted to take it, to make AIDS education important again, not just abstinence only, but HIV education. So those are some of the ways you can get involved. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's great. Really great. Yeah.
Are you still in touch with any of your high school friends?
I'm having my 30th high school reunion in September on my 48th birthday. And I will be seeing a lot of them. I'm in touch with 3 or 4, and I just found, some of you heard me talk about Butch in one of my lectures, my high school bully. I just found him on Facebook. So I am, he lives in Florida. And I work in Florida a lot. I'm going to be there in April. So I'm going to have a little talk with Butch. That's going to be fun. There's the 13-year-old in me that's scared to death. And there's the 47-year-old in me that's like, bring it on. And listen carefully to what I just said. This is really, really important, right? You want to grow up, I want you to grow up into men and women who can take care of the kids you are right now, because right now you have the kids. And then one day you can protect the kid that didn't get protected now. Does that make any sense a little bit? So that now that I'm grown up, I can go back and look at Butch in the face and say, you know, you were a total asshole in 8th grade, but it's okay now. Because the 47-year-old can do that, because the 13-year-old in me is still hurt and needs somebody to protect them. Who better than me, myself, right? So stick around long enough to be able to fight your demons and your, bullies when you have the strength to do so. So, but I'm still in touch with some of my high school friends. Yeah, I'm the only one that still has hair, actually. So they're still in my life. What else? Yes.
How do you deal with your HIV, like day-to-day life? Like, do you take pills?
I took one of my pills at noon today in front of some of you. And I'll take some more pills tonight at midnight. I take vitamins, herbs, and supplements throughout the day to fight the side effects of the pills I take, and also to keep my immune system strong. Because it's not just HIV not just meds that have to fight the HIV. I have to have an immune system that will be strong to fight other infections. So I want to keep that strong, right? So that requires me to get at least 8 hours of sleep, eat really good food. I said this last period. I mean, there was a time in my life that a roll of Oreo cookies, that was a great dinner. I can't live like that anymore, right? And emotionally, I've got to deal with my emotions. I go to therapy. I deal with the emotional inside, what's going on in my immune system on the emotional side. And all together, that's a full-time job, right? Somebody said about me, oh, Scott, he's been alive forever with HIV. He's got nothing to worry about. Well, maybe he can say that, but I'm alive because I work really hard at it. It's a lot of work. So if I were to give up, one of the people in the video, I won't say who because it wouldn't be fair, but in the video I showed you of my friends who died, one of those people just stopped taking the meds. That person just couldn't take it anymore. Didn't want the side effects, just couldn't do it. And then within a matter of months died. That's what happens, right? So it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's working, right? Even when life sucks, let me say this because I gotta be honest. Life can suck. Even when life sucks, it's worth taking those meds, or worth getting out of bed, or worth fighting for staying alive, right? My mom died of a sudden heart attack last year, and I just thought, what's the point of sticking around here for? My dad's gone, my mom's gone, all my friends have died. What the hell? I don't need to be here anymore. It's noon, I gotta take my meds. It's midnight, I gotta take some more. I keep showing up. Even when life sucks, there's still something to stick you around for, even if it's just to find out what that something is. Does that make sense? There's still something to stick around for, even if it's just to find out what it is that you're sticking around for. Yeah.
When you first found out you had HIV, you know the perspective you have of it now that there's still something there to stick around for. Did you feel that way?
Yes. Before, when I got the results?
Yeah, when you first found out.
When I first got the results, I was standing here just like this, and this guy looked at me and goes, I'm sorry, it's positive. And I stood there and thought, the first thing I thought was my mother and my father and all those things. And then this whole collage of emotions were being sort of just projected onto this movie screen in my mind, my life that flashed before my eyes. And by the way, when you hear the expression, you see your life flash before your eyes, well, let me tell you what that means. That doesn't mean the life you live, the 17 years or 15 years you've been on the planet that flashes before your life. Before your eyes. It's not just that, it's the other 45, 50 years that you were hoping to live that also flashes before your eyes. There's the kids you want to have, there are the countries you want to visit, there's the job you want to have, here's the money you want to make. It's all there on the screen, right? That's your life flashing before your eyes. But while that was happening, I had this thought. I'm just going to stay alive. I'm just going to stay alive. I'm going to do this 1 week at a time. No, that's too much. I'm going to do this 1 day at a time. No, that's too much too. I'm going to do this 1 hour at a time. That's what I'm going to do. Damn it, I'm going to stay alive. And what happened was, I began to realize in that moment what the value of my life was in a way that I didn't know when I was having unsafe sex. Once I was told that my future was no longer in my hands, as if I thought it really was, that my destiny was kind of out of my hands, that this virus may have more control over my destiny than I do, I wanted the control back. Once I heard that I could die of this mistake that I made, I wanted to stay alive more than ever before, which proved to me that that fight was in me even when I was lying underneath the weight of his body having unsafe sex in his apartment, but I didn't feel it, I didn't know it, I didn't access it, right? There's a part in all of us, I believe, and this is where I start sounding like a motivational speaker, but listen carefully, there's a part in all of us that just wants to be alive, right? It's the part that got out of bed this morning and the part that got to school today, even if you hated it. So, you don't always feel it, you don't always notice it, except in that moment when something horrible happens. It's called the terrible blow, or I call it the fateful ache. And when that fateful ache arrives and that terrible blow shows up, you think, oh, this is that part of me that shows up to meet it and wants to be alive. So he says, I'm sorry, it's positive. My father, my mother, my memories, the past, the future, the movie on the screen,